Ooh, I think my audio's on. Hey guys. Okay, let me get this.
Hi.
Hi. I love the gallery view. Do you change your settings? Do you put it on the gallery view?
Yeah, so I could see everyone at once.
Yeah. And like we're like bigger. Oh,
Hi, friends.
how's it going?
Awesome. I have that same dress.
What's the shirt?
Oh, mine's a dress.
Oh, Marshalls.
Yeah,
Yeah, girl.
I swear we have like matching everything.
Seriously, that's so funny. Our last call that we did, I think it was just you and I. We did a Zoom thing, and we were like wearing like the same shirt.
Same shirt.
Oh, and the black and white shirt. Um,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, that's so funny.
love it. So, how's everybody doing? Everybody
I,
having a great week?
I literally just shared the swipe up on my Insta story like 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago.
Perfect.
I'm like, it might just be us.
Yeah. Hey, either way,
Oopsie.
we always make the best of it and learn from each other anyways.
Yeah. So how is
So,
it being in the office?
it's great. It is really great. I am loving being back in a routine and just hearing other people, and yeah, I'm just loving it. And I'm so glad to like see more and more people come. Like at first like Monday, like some people stayed at home, but like today like it was like half the
Yeah,
team here. I was like, "Look, guys, I get to see people and talk." And
I know. The first time that I went in the office and there was like already people it parked and I was like, oh my gosh. And I walked in and I was like, hey guys.
I know.
So excited. And I was like in my office. I was like, man, this is like a luxury now. Like,
I
wow.
know, right? So spoiled. Good deal. Well, I'm excited to talk about receiving and getting into multiple offer situations. Now, I know everybody's market is a little bit different, but whether that pertains to you now or in the future, I mean, multiple offers are a thing, right? So, who,
I mean, today. I had the situation happen today.
yeah, I was going to say either turn your mic on or put it in the chat or just raise your hand. Who in here is still encountering multiple offers in their market right now? Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Everybody.
Yay. That's so great. Well, I'm so happy because, oh, nice. Look at these little emojis that show up.
Oh, how do you even do that? Oh, reactions.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I got to clap.
That's so exciting because I feel like we're all in different market centers, right? And like we all, like just throughout different areas, we talk about all the time like shortage of inventory or like excess inventory, and so it's really cool to see that each of us are still experiencing multiple offers. So that shows that we're in a healthy market still. So yay, good deal.
It's great being on the listing side. Let's just say that. Like, that's just like your dream. You're so happy. You're like, oh, my seller is going to love me. But
Yeah,
when you're on the buying side, you're like, all right, this might not happen. Are they going to ditch me? Like, you need to like I feel like, okay, this is the thing with real estate. And this was one of my mom's, like, my favorite tip from her was like, sometimes you get in multiple offer situations and that buyer might blame you for you not getting them that deal. And then like you don't look good and they might ditch you. And I feel like I've really learned from that and we're going to get into it, but like educating that buyer on, what's really going on. And because, I mean, I hear it all the time from agents saying that they end up getting ditched because the buyer thinks, oh, the realtor's not doing their job or not fighting for them, right? So we'll chat about that.
awesome. Yeah, that sounds good. So on that note, let's just transition right into buyers. And so representing buyers when it comes to multiple offer situations. When I have my buyer's consult, that's one of the things that I bring up because it depends. For here, it's not only a price range thing, but it's also a location. And so you might not have as many homes on the market, but you might have, tons of buyers that are out there and you just don't know that you're going to get into a multiple offer situation until, reaching out to the agent or scheduling the showing. And so for us, it's price, but it's also location too. Do you also experience that?
Yeah, and I will mention one thing that I think it is important for you to mention to your buyer is because there's just this expectation that, okay, we're putting in an offer, and let's say there are multiple offers. Well, it's not, at least here anyways, it's not very black and white. Like, it's not like, oh, that automatically means that we're going to go in highest and best. Sometimes the seller can just pick one and decide to go with that person, or maybe the first person, or whatever the case is. So I always tell the buyer that, like, when we're going through the whole process of looking at houses, I feel like I'm just constantly trying to educate them. And one of the things that I'll mention is like, hey, it's not black and white. So if you decide to put in an offer, they do have other offers. They might just go ahead and decide to pick somebody, or they might decide they're going to do highest and best. And then we'll have a certain day or time that we have to respond back to that. So I just don't want you to be disappointed. Like, I always want to set that up ahead of time so that they're prepared, because just like today, I put an offer on a property and for myself, and they had decided that they were going to accept the offer that they received last night. Like, they had already decided they were going to do that, and they're not going to do multiple offers, highest and best. And I feel as though that's really discouraging for a buyer, and they're going to be so disappointed. And I think if you set the expectation ahead of time, then, they're not going to be mad at you about it. Right?
Yep. Absolutely. And one of the things that I do set in the buyer's consultation is going over that, hey, in this price range or in this area, it is common for us to experience a multiple offer situation. I want you to know going into it that, one, it's not out of the norm. And two, I'm going to share with you ways that we can set our offer apart from the other buyers that are out there. And one of those steps is reaching out to the agent to say, what is important to your sellers in regard to the offer that they choose? I hands down always ask that question, because I might think it's price, and I might think that my clients have to offer $5, $7, $10,000 above, when it might be a super short close date because they're under contract for their next home, or they got to be to Florida for the husband's job. So don't always assume that the seller is going to select the highest and best offer. So that's one of the things that I let my clients know in the buyer's consultation is, we might encounter this, and that's okay. Here's what we can do to set our offer apart. And here's what I'm going to do up front to communicate with the agent to make sure that we are in a position to have your offer that's most appealing to the sellers. Make sense?
Something that I wanted to mention with buyers that I think is really beneficial, because at least here in this market, a lot of buyers, they want their closing costs covered. And sometimes
Mm.
their lender just tells them, oh, just have the realtor have the seller pay all their closing costs. And I'm like, wait, what? And they set that because sometimes they get pre-approved with people online, right? Quicken, and you don't know this person in Montana or whatever. And I'm just like, well, let me tell you about our market here and how unrealistic that is. So
Yeah.
I always want to educate them, and this is so important, because as somebody who's buying a house who's not in real estate, they have no idea about commissions and how it works and how much does it cost a seller to sell their home. And I just feel like this helps set the expectation, because they do hear all the time, oh, this person got their closing costs covered, or my lender said you could. So I just like to break it down for them, and I say, hey, I can ask the seller to pay this $9,000 closing cost for you, but I just want to make sure that you are aware that a seller has closing costs as well. And then
Right.
in addition, they have commissions. So they also are paying that listing agent and myself, and based off of this purchase price, it's $18,000 on top of their closing costs. And then when we come in and we say, hey, we want $9,000 for closing costs to be covered, would you say yes to that if you were the seller? Because you're already on plan B. You're already moved out. You're not trying to spend any more money, and this is your biggest investment. And I'm telling you now so that you're fully educated that it's expensive to sell a house. And they have these fees on their end because you're not paying me anything as your real estate agent. And when we come in asking that $9,000, I can try my best, but, I might not be able to get all that covered. I might be able to get half of it covered, and sometimes I've been able to get $1,000 covered. Like, something's better than nothing, right? But I just, at the end of the day, I feel like buyers have no idea about that side of things, because how would they know? And I feel as though, as the realtor, so that they don't get disappointed if they don't get all their closing costs covered, this sets you up so that you don't look like the bad guy, right?
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things that I do in my buyer's consult is go over what their closing costs look like and say, hey, here's what we can do. Some of these are negotiable, and I put stars next to those. And then I actually have a list of other ways that we can make their offer appealing. Some will cost you money and others won't. So accommodating a seller's closing date does not cost you a dime, right? So if the seller needs to close in 45 days because they have an offer out on a home, or they have a new build that's under contract, but it's not set to completion for another 45 to 60 days. And if my people are in a month-to-month lease, hey, extending the closing date out by 45 or 60 days does not cost you a dime, but puts you in a better position to get your offer accepted because you're accommodating their close date. So it doesn't cost you anything. So that's a free way. Also, I mean, I don't know if you guys have lease backs. So we have lease backs. And so, hey, if we give 72 hours for the sellers to move out and don't charge them anything, they're going to feel less pressured to for moving and closing. And by you giving just a couple of days, getting your offer accepted, hey, again, it doesn't cost you anything.
In multiple offer situations, I think it's important to mention about the closing costs, because it's like, hey, you're trying to get, it's very, I don't know about your guys' market, but here it's like every buyer wants their closing costs paid for, which, shoot, I do too. But I just feel as though, educating them in multiple offer situations, it's all about the dollar amount at the end of the day. And, just think, if someone comes in and they're not asking for closing costs, well, who do you think that they're going to pay?
Yeah, that's right. Another way too is getting with the lender and seeing how long is their financing period. So a typical is, 21 days, but hey, if we can make it shorter to 17 days, 14 days, ask the lender how confident they are that they can get through the underwriting period. Again, that doesn't cost your clients anything if they're rock solid for financing. So just a way for their offer to stand apart, but at the end of the day, not costing them anything. I always recommend writing a letter and including a family photo when it comes to multiple offers to write to the seller. Just kind of pulling out the emotion side of things. And, if you have 5 offers on the table and nobody wrote a letter, but you wrote a letter on how much this home would mean to you and your family and your kids growing up and going to these schools and playing in the big backyard with a trampoline that your kids always dreamed of, things like that that are going to bring out the emotions for a seller all day, it's going to make your offer stand apart. What's funny about that is we have an agent on our team. She just flipped a property and it's on the market right now. She had 7 offers on it. One wrote a letter and they weren't even the highest price, and she picked that offer. And she's an agent on my team.
Yeah.
She was just like, oh my gosh, and it's a flip property. So she didn't have any emotions tied to that property at all. So think about a seller that lived there for 10, 15, 20 years. And now a newer young family is coming in and going to share the memories just as that, like their family did over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
That's going to have your client's offer completely standing apart. Now, I do have a sample letter written. So if we're on the line or something, I kind of just have a template and I'm like, hey, take this, it's a Word document, and then mix it up into your own words. Just kind of tee them up for success.
They keep it the name and it says Sue Brown, and you're like,
Yeah.
isn't your name Carol?
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, realtor gave us this template.
Yeah, no. I have it as a Word document, so they get to revise it. But
I know,
still,
it's just funny.
they're like, what? Yeah, so, those are a few things that you can do to having your client's offer standing apart from, any others that might be there on the table as well.
I've been on the listing side of things and gotten the letters, and sellers really do like that. I really haven't had a lot of buyers that have done it. But I was talking to a realtor this morning about it, and she was like ranting and raving about the benefits of writing a letter. And even on her particular home, they wrote a letter, and they ended up getting picked over this cash buyer because of her story. So, I mean, it sounds like it could really make or break.
Right. I mean, we all know that there's so much emotions within real
Oh,
estate.
it is so emotional for people.
Yeah, exactly. And if somebody's selling a property that really means something to them, then, they're going to take the time to look at a letter, and your clients might even be able to explain why they can't offer, thousands over. And yet it still just might grab at the heartstrings of a seller, and your client's offer getting accepted.
Yeah. So I'm
Um,
all about listings. And I wanted to share with you this story because I'm just like, how does this happen? I had this listing that I put on the market, and it was so cute. This was all very recent, like the last week or two. And I got 8 offers. And one of the guys that put the offer in, he had called me and he was like, hey, because I had to call all 7 other agents and tell them like, hey, this didn't work out, but hey, put in a backup offer, right? So I'm on the phone with one of the guys, and he says, hey, I work with a lot of buyers, and we're just constantly having to do multiple offer situations. And what is it about like an offer, like you're more experienced, like what do you do in these types of situations to stand out? So I told him, I was like, bing bang boom, this is what you need to do. And you won't believe what happened. I have this other listing about 45 minutes away, and he has a totally different buyer. And probably 3 or 4 days later, I had an offer on that listing. And then he came through and put in an offer as well. And I was like, well, now I got multiple offers. And so I told him, I was like, look, just put your best foot forward. And guess what this guy did? He drafted up an offer, and he did bing, bang, boom, everything that I said. And I was like, oh yeah, let's go. But I was just like, how ironic. Like Jacksonville is huge. And this was a totally different buyer and totally different listing, all the things. And I was like, that is just so crazy. But he literally did everything that I had said. And I was like, yeah, this is a strong offer and what every listing agent wants to see. So we're going to share about that.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things too that my team does is we put together what an appealing offer would look like up on the MLS. So if you're a newer agent or if you're in a multiple offer
What?
situation, it's like instructions. The seller wants to see X, Y, and Z in the offer. And if you do this, your odds of getting your offer accepted are drastically increased. So
So
use that in Jacksonville.
in the documents tab, you have like a sample offer.
It's a bullet pointed document.
Huh. Well, wouldn't like a document be like we want list price? Or what do you mean? Like, are you breaking down like terms, like financing contingencies, home
Mm-hmm.
inspection periods?
Yep.
Okay. That's
$50 a day, 5-day option period, 14 to 21 day financing period, 30-day close. Mm-hmm. So
my
that
it's like
as us as listing
oh,
agents, we're not having to negotiate, as much because they've already took our instructions and they've teed up the offer beautifully from the beginning. And then I'm able to present it to my seller and look like a rock star at the end of the day because it's exactly the terms that they wanted.
oh my god.
And do your
Jacksonville is about to blow up with you using it now, huh?
Amanda, do your
I guess
sellers know that you have that up there? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Oh yeah.
ask them like the questions and everything?
So usually from like motivation and things, we know those answers ahead of time.
Hmm.
But yeah, as one of our value propositions of when I go to on a listing appointment, and I'm usually up against multiple agents because I go on a lot of expired appointments. That's one of the things that I say is, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to put together a document that says, here's what our client would like to see structured in an offer so that it allows you to get the offer right from the beginning and us present it to you. And they all are like, wow, that's amazing. Yes. Because we explain to them on how much emotions come out in real estate. And so when you're going back and forth with negotiations 3-4 times, the buyer is now disconnected, right? They don't have as much they don't have as much emotions after all those negotiations. They're like, yeah, it's not that
overwhelming for them.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that sometimes you have to go back and forth. And the same thing with multiple offers. They're like, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the other things, paying title or paying survey can set your clients apart, especially if they're, you know, they have maybe a couple $100 or a couple $1,000 on the table to kind of work around. Those things can just make your offer stand apart. Higher option dollar amount. So typically like, 5 days for $200, that's standard. But if your clients are very serious about it, you might do 5 days for $300, right? I bet you there's not going to be any other offer on the table for that little days and that high of a dollar amount. So just different things that you can structure their money around to make your offer stand out from the others.
You guys use escalatory clauses?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, really?
I'm going to ask you about that if anyone uses that.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
So instead of just, sorry, you go.
Go ahead. Amy, you got it.
Instead of just like telling your buyer, there's another offer, we have to offer $7,000 over asking to have a shot at this. And then they get all upset with you because they think that you're spending their money. You could do like an escalation clause where you say, this is my offer, let's say $240, but I'll offer to pay $2,000 over anyone else's offer up to, but not to exceed $250. Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah. So we don't, so it's not called that. That's like a super fancy term here in Texas. We don't use that term. We have what is it's an appraisal addendum. So it's only allowed on conventional offers. And basically it'll say like, we will pay X amount over or X amount over appraisal amount.
So we have that too, over appraised value.
Yeah.
But that's and that can be a great negotiating strategy for a multiple offer situation.
Okay.
This is not even
so it's not even
not talking about the appraisal. Sorry, it's just talking about someone else's offer. Like I'll be their offer.
So what's funny about that is when I first got in the business, like a year and a half ago, we would like get with an attorney like, hey, can you write this up for me? Like, because we can't put that into like a special provisions, which is what a lot of agents were doing. It was basically like the special provisions. If you were to word it like that, you're acting as an attorney, and that just, it's not okay here in Texas. But so that was a thing. And then after, like, to kind of combat that, they came out with the appraisal addendum. So anybody that wants to offer more or over appraised value is only somebody with a conventional loan that can do that. So interesting to see, just like state to state.
Yeah. Because at this point with the offer, like you don't know what it appraises at. And
right. But that's why it secures the seller to say, okay, well, hey, they're willing to pay $1,000 over whatever it appraises for up to, X amount. Then they're like, hey, well, at least I'm guaranteed X amount in my pocket. But so that is interesting.
There's a lot of gray area with that. So whenever I mention to a buyer, hold on, sorry. Be right back.
Well, one of the things also is, do y'all reach out to the listing agent, making sure that all of the boxes that you and your buyer have talked about, making sure that it also matches up. And then I was also going to talk about sellers. So when it comes to presenting multiple offers to my clients, we put together a net sheet of every single offer, A, B, C, D offers. And then each of the headings are offer amount, down payment, who's paying title, who's paying survey, financing addendum, like the number of days, close date. And then the last one is the net. Because you guys know when somebody's offering a high dollar amount, that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, based on all the terms, that that's going to be the highest amount that your seller nets, right? And at the end of the day, the net is usually the most important, or the close date. So we put together a net sheet that says that, and then asking the seller, do you want to see any personal letters that were written? And we'll put a box that says yes or no if there was a personal letter that was submitted with their offer.
That's interesting. Okay, so I was going to mention about putting in an offer. Some of the terms that I like to see being on the listing side of things is a offer where they're turning their earnest money deposit in sooner, which here it's 3 days. But if they write in 1 day, I feel like that looks good. And then the home inspection contingency period here is 10 days. And so if they write in 7, I'm like, okay, good. And then also shorter contingency periods for financing. You know, usually people are writing in 30 days, but if they write in 26 days, I feel like that's pretty aggressive. And
it's
then
so funny to see to hear the differences, because like if I had an offer that came in at 10 days, it doesn't matter if it's multiple offers or if we have not had an offer in 5 months, and if it came in with 10-day option period, I'm like, no, sister, I'm like, what do you need to inspect that's going to take 10 days long? No, like 7 is standard. And if it's 5, then now you're speaking my language.
oh yeah, I guess
In California, it's 17 days. Our boilerplate one is.
Oh my gosh.
wow.
A 7-day option period. We're like a week out from closing at that point.
Amanda's like, I need to know tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm like, can you get your inspection scheduled in the next hour? Because we can execute then.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
When we were in multiple offers where it was like very, very hot, like a year and a half ago, I was writing in 3 days, 2-3 days. And it was very common for people to say, 1 day, I'll get it inspected this evening and I'll get all the repairs to you by tomorrow at 5:00.
Yeah.
Or no option period. It's just crazy.
That is so interesting. And everybody's contract is so different. Actually, in Florida, everybody writes their contract on the same forms. But
Yeah, we do too.
Northeast Florida is the only area in the state that has their own contract. And we all write our deals on this one particular contract. But this listing, my buyer, we just snagged it yesterday. And she had mentioned that she was an Orlando agent. And I was like, oh, well, y'all use the FAR bar, right? Which is the state of Florida contract. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, look, I already wrote this up on our contract and this is what I'm familiar with. And she rolled with it, which I was surprised. But it's just weird. Like our terms and everything compared to the rest of the state is actually a lot different.
Yeah, it sounds like everything that y'all are used to. I'm like, what? 30 days is a standard close date here. And if a lender can get it done in 25, then let's do it.
Yeah.
And the way that our contract reads too is on or before the close date. So if you need to close beforehand, and everybody's on board, we get it all set up.
Yeah. Another thing that I really like, because I'm mostly on the listing side of things, and when I get multiple offers and somebody is calling me and asking me a ton of questions about the listing and stuff, like realtors are crazy out there. And I favor the people who call me, who are respectful, who are, problems are going to arise, and I'm all about figuring out solutions and somebody who's going to work together as a team. So when they showcase that, I really like that. And when they write in their offer, send it in an email and kind of just like, this is what I do is I'm like, hey, I'm really easy to work with and I'm all about figuring out solutions to problems. Like on the listing side of things, like you love to hear that. And I always emphasize, like, let me know any questions that you have. And I write my own letter.
Yeah, same.
To the listing agent. I'm like, I've got to sell them on this offer and I want them to work with me. And you guys, like, it makes such a difference. My multiple offer situation when I was on the listing side with 8 offers, I literally swayed towards the person that I knew was going to help make this much smoother. And at the end of the day, the seller decides, but they want my opinion. And I will say, look, this is who I think that we should go with. This is my suggestion, but you pick. And because I know that particular person and I know she's going to help me, she's going to help get this to closing. And I think that makes such a huge difference. Whereas some people, they never even call me at all and they'll just send me an offer. And like sometimes I don't even see it. Like my emails are crazy and I've got someone working with me who's checking my emails also, so I might miss it. And the fact that you put in an offer for a client, you didn't even call me to make sure that I received that, like that's weird. Like
Yep.
you're not that serious, I feel like. And I just feel as though it's really important to make that call, to make, tell them about the financing. Like, I know this buyer, they have good credit, they've got the cash, they're using my preferred mortgage lender. Like, this is going to be a really smooth deal. And like some people just throw it in an email and I'm just looking at the numbers, but
Yeah.
it's an emotion for everybody. And so
One of the things that I always have, if I'm on the buying side, I reach out to the lender. Hey, we are in a multiple offer situation. Will you reach out to Susie Q, the listing agent, introduce yourself, let her know that I'm the agent and I just sent over an offer and how qualified our client is. And so my lender will immediately pick up the phone and say, hey, and just give them this feel. And then when I'm on the listing side, to hear from that agent and hear, hey, my client just submitted an offer. You might know the agent, so-and-so, the buyer is solid. We've already pulled credit. I've already verified income, credit, yada, yada, yada. They're not pre-qualified. They're pre-approved, meaning they're more solid. I'm letting my client know, like, hey, we have 4 offers on the table. This lender reached out to me and their lender is very confident that they are going to not only get the job done, but get it done on time. That's super important for sellers to hear. So having the lender reach out too. So if you have your client writing a letter, you're writing in the body of the email that you're presenting the offer, how solid it is. You're calling, you're having the lender call. Like, think about how many touches that agent is hearing from you and your team before there's an offer that's accepted. That's going to stand out amongst all the others that are on the table, because I guarantee you not everybody is doing that.
what lender wouldn't want to do that? They're like,
Right.
yeah, let me get in. Let me talk to this other agent that I'm not getting business from and make an introduction and wow them and potentially get their business as well. So you could even mention it that way, like, hey, this is a great opportunity for you.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And, just like you said, we also sell the listing agent on our client's offer, and we put here below are the offer highlights that are going to stand out between you and your client. And we put together, over list price, short option period, 1% or plus for earnest money, short contingency, anything like that. We're highlighting that so that they're not having to go through the offer, because we all know in this business, not all agents are created equal and they don't all do the same job.
Amen.
So if I can make their job a little bit easier and I shouldn't even say me, because it really is, it's our team and our transaction coordinators. They really are the success with selling the offer. There's specific ones where I'm like, no, Sarah, I got this, because I want to put in, all these details. Like, I had one where we met the seller. We happened to be early and we crossed paths, and they ended up just staying while we were there viewing the home. So, I was pulling all of the emotions out, saying, hey, we met Jack and Sue. They were so sweet. I can't believe that they were the original owners of this home and they kept great care of it all these years. My buyers are super excited. They're young. I'm like pulling at the agent's heartstrings too.
Yeah.
Just to sell it.
Something that I've heard from some buyer agents is they're like, they'll put in this offer and I'm like, did you call the listing agent? And they're like, no, I didn't want to bother her. And I'm like, no, this is her job. You should bother her, call her, make that. But I know it might be intimidating, especially if you're new and you're just like, am I supposed to call her? Like, you just don't know. Like, they don't teach you these types of things in, training and stuff. So I just feel like don't be scared. And I love when agents call me. And even if they're new, like, let's say this is your first deal, let me know that. And that's perfectly fine. And the offer that I put on yesterday, she's in Orlando and she's new and she does this part-time. Like, she has a full-time job. And I was like, all right, this is what you need to do, yada, yada. I'm like telling her all the things, like, I'm all about working together. But that listing agent might not even be a full-time successful realtor. They might be in another market or part-time or listing their buddy's house. So it's nothing to be intimidated about.
Yeah, I totally agree. My team lead, she had a $750,000 listing, and the agent came out and said, "Hey, I'm new," and she was like, let me help you. Like,
Yeah.
we are on the same team here. Negotiations don't work like this; they work like this. Like,
Yeah.
let me help you explain it to your clients like this, or here's the understanding of why the sellers are countering on this. So don't be afraid to be upfront and have those conversations, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to get to the same goal here, and that's to the closing table, right? So be upfront with it.
Okay,
Good
did
deal.
we have any questions? Let's see.
I'm sharing all these tips because all of y'all are in different market centers, so. And if you were to put an offer in on my property, here's what you know how to.
Well, that's what exactly just happened to me. I told this guy what to do, and it worked out well because on my other listing that I had, he had a buyer and he did exactly what I said, and I set that expectation. So I'm happy to share this with every Jacksonville realtor.
Yeah, no, I get it.
All right. Tap out on the offer when you offer above appraised value. Do you say buyer will pay X amount of dollars above appraised value up to a maximum, or you just go above?
For who, me?
Yeah, you or Stevie.
So ours is an addendum. So it's only for conventional offers. It's an addendum, and there's options A, B, and C. And if I'm the listing agent, I mark box B, whereas if I'm the buyer's agent, I mark box A. So it just kind of varies there depending, because I do want their money to be protected, right? Like if I'm the buyer's agent, I'm clicking box A because I want their money to be protected. Them not have to go, thousands over. But ours is an addendum because of, I think really because of 2018 when it was just like crazy and people were paying like amounts that were just so far above appraised value that it was just like, what?
See,
like,
we never had that here. I feel like
we did.
The escalatory clause, it's not saying that I'm going to pay over appraised value, because at the end of the day, we only want appraised value. So with the escalatory clause, we're basically stating we're just like negotiating, getting it under contract with the offer. And even with the escalatory clause, for example, on my listing, we accepted an escalatory clause and it's way over what I know what this house is worth. And I have nailed in their head. I'm like, your house is worth X, but we are going to accept this higher contract. But at the end of the day, this person needs appraised value in order to get loan approval. And they're not going to pay $1 over. People aren't doing that here at all. Unless, I don't know, I've never had anybody pay over appraised value cash.
Oh, I have.
In my market, I have done that. I've helped my buyers do that.
It's just not common here.
Right. And we don't have that addendum like Amanda has. So I have to write it in like an addendum or additional terms, like we'll pay X amount over appraised value up to, but not to exceed X amount of dollars.
Yeah, we can't write that in here because of, I think it's just like the jargon. I think because we're a fee attorney state. I think it has to do with that. Maybe I'm saying that wrong.
That's probably, we are not an attorney state, so
yeah, that right.
Anything we want.
Yeah, so we cannot.
Amy's, because Vegas is exactly that way. We don't have an addendum for that. We just have additional terms.
Oh yeah, and I like the way that Amy words it. So she said not to exceed X amount over. So that might be some wording that you use.
Got it. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we provide a good value.
Here's a question here. What are some things that you do in order to turn it into a multiple offer situation as the listing agent? Or do you think it actually depends on the property? So that's a great question. I asked my client up front, what's your motivation to selling? How soon do you need to be out? Do you need a contract on the home like yesterday? If so, we're going to list it below market value so that we can stir up multiple offers and have many offers on the table for you. If we list it on Friday, I'll have multiple offers for you by Monday so you can execute and make a decision. And so we just list it below. Or if we've been on the market and we're exploring a price reduction, I say, hey, I know that you needed to get to Florida by the middle of next month. We're getting close to that deadline. So why don't we go ahead and make a price improvement and make it such that it gets us in front of a new pool of buyers and it puts us in a position to receive multiple offers. And so you might drop it by 10, 15%, 20%, depending on, where the price of it is.
Inventory is so low here. So I feel like I have a really good idea of what the house is going to appraise at. And that's usually what I'm suggesting for us to list it at. And if they listen to that, and considering inventory is so low right now, properties do go really quickly here. But if I'm listing it like crazy overpriced, then that's not going to happen. But I don't list properties way overpriced and I feel as though as the realtor, when you're at that house, like every seller wants to list so high, right? Like they want to get as much money as possible. And I totally get that. But my job is like, I'm here to educate them. I want to set the expectation because at the end of the day, it's all about the appraised value. And that's the data that we have. Like I'm not an appraiser. And it is an opinion of value, and I express that to them. But at the end of the day, I'm like, there's a comps of exactly what they're going to look at that have sold within the last 6 months that's comparable to your property. And this is what it's telling me. I'll give them a range. I don't give them an exact number, but I'll give them this range. I'm like, we should list within this range. And every time, though, I tell you what, just keeps happening to me over and over. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like getting to be funny. I tell them what it's worth and I leave the house and they're like, yes, Stevie, we're good with 250. Good. Well, Stevie, they sent a text. What do you think about 260? And I'm like, what did I just talk to you about at the house? Like, what happened? It happens to me every single time, even because I like emphasize educating so much. And I'm like, really, guys? And I'll come back and I will say, we can listen at that, but I do not want you to be disappointed in me when you don't have a lot of showings and and put it on my shoulders. Because I feel like it makes me look bad when we list so high. It's not realistic. So, and I just try to educate them as much as possible of the benefits of listing it right. And this
is a graph that we put, and it says if you list your home 10% higher, you're cutting your buyer pool in half.
Yeah,
so
I feel
you'll
like
see it here.
Nobody cares about that though. Like I feel like in their mind they're just like, nope.
So should anybody want to list it like way above, we usually will put it in the listing paperwork to say
yep,
listing agent and seller agree to reduce the price to $250,000 if no offer received by June 15th.
That's exactly what I come back with. When I get that text of, can see me? Oh my God.
I never get that text.
Can we just try? Because I think I nail it in their head of what I want to list at. And then they think I'm going to be like upset or disappointed or something about going higher. And because I want to be very realistic with the listing price because I want it to go quickly. And so they come back, they tell me this price. Oh, let's do 260. And then I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. I forget where I was going with that. What were we talking about?
Listing it above.
Yeah, I forget. My brain.
Melissa asked, where do you put that, Amanda? The listing agreement and the special provisions. So we'll put that in there should somebody want to. It's very, you know, so depending on the client situation, I might give them 3 different prices to say we can list it as is at this price. If you do a little bit of sprucing up, we can list it here. And if you do X, Y, and Z and put money into it, here's where you're going to get the return on in value, and we'll list it here. And so if they're like, no, I'm not willing to put that into it. Okay, great. So we need to list it here, right? And so if they do come back and say that, you know, I have that conversation like, hey, remember I said that we can definitely list it at 260. However, in order to justify the price at 260, we need to do yada, 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 yada. Have your priorities changed where you're now willing to do those items? And if they say, no, I'm not willing to do that, well, then isn't it the right thing to do that we listed at market value because your home doesn't reflect X, Y, and Z in it?
Bam.
They're like, done. But we could talk about pricing on a different day.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say about the listing agreement is that when they text me and they say, oh, I want to list so high. And then I'm like, okay, and it depends because this is an investment. I'm paying a lot of money for this.
Agreed.
Marketing,
yes, girl.
and time and energy and telling every realtor in Jacksonville about it. So I will tell them, okay, sure. All right, Susie, I will list it at this, but we are now going to put in the listing agreement that within 7 days, if we haven't received an offer, then we're going to reduce it to the price that I suggested. And then they're usually like, okay, that's fine. We just want to try it. Okay. And that's fine. And we're in agreement. And then it sets the expectation because a lot of times agents don't, and they just tell the seller, okay, yeah, we can list it at that, but within 7 days or 10 days or whatever, we're going to reduce it to X amount. Well, you know what? They forget. And then you got to have that conversation again where you're like, hey, you know, and they might be feel a little frustrated. And then you're like, we need to reduce this price. Yada, yada. Well, you already have it in writing. The expectation has already been set. They've already signed off on it, and you can just go in and do that price reduction.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if you guys have coming soon, so our team was just talking about this today. If you have coming soon, that's the time where you can test out that price. See the activity that you have at that price for 14 days as coming soon and see what the activity is like. If you're having great activity, awesome. Put the home active on the market at that price. Because there's some times where I'm like, oh, I missed the ball. Like, I missed the boat. I'm so sorry. Like, I was really thinking 255, and it turns out that we got a full price offer at 260. And, you know, the appraisal came back like, great. I am willing to say I was wrong in those instances, right? But
yeah, that never happens.
Never.
I'm always right. Just kidding.
But, you know, test it out in the coming soon status. And then should, you know, you have zero interest or activity, you know, then that's when you say, okay, great. We've listed it coming soon for 14 days at your price. We've seen and tested that out, and it shows that we're not having the results that we wanted. So let's go ahead and let's reduce the price. Let's make it active, and let's get you on to Florida by the end of this month.
I always say, like, I'm disappointed. Like, we are based off of the stats, like, we should have had way more showings. I'm really disappointed. And I really think that we need to reduce this price.
Well, and remember this too. This is something that I was taught early in the market, early on. And it's not you, it's the market, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying your home isn't worth 250. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying your home isn't worth 250, but based upon the feedback, the market statistics, that's what's telling us that we need to make a reduction.
Yeah. And that's why I emphasize
not me.
The market is all based off of these comps and what the data that we're looking at. So with the average days on the market, like, I'm having that conversation with them. So I set the expectation of how long it's going to take to sell. And then also with like the comps, I'm like, this is what everything is based off of right here. Not how much money you need to go to California. That's not, the market doesn't give a shit. It's based off of this, like what I'm giving you right now. This is what the appraiser is going to be looking at. Now, it might be off a couple thousand because it's an opinion of value. So you could have 5 appraisers out of this property. You're going to get 5 different values. But this is a really solid range. And with me as your real estate agent is I meet that appraiser and showcase to him all the upgrades that you've done to the property since you purchased. And I provide these comps because sometimes they are appraisers out of our market. And I want to make sure that they're educated on the growth here. And I go meet with them. I have a conversation where a lot of real estate agents aren't doing that. And I'm going to try to help persuade his opinion.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, going above and beyond to make it happen.
And then they're happy about that. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, my friend Susie, her realtor didn't go meet the appraiser. So, and then you're like, yeah, Susie should hire me.
Right, that's right. I was just going to say that.
Susie made a mistake.
And that's why Susie's no longer in the business, or that agent is no longer in the business.
All right.
Good deal. All right. Well, I hope you guys got a lot of value from this. And if you have any questions about multiple offers, or we got into pricing and appraisals, but we can always talk about that later. But let us know if you guys have any questions or need anything.
Okay. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Have a great rest of your week.